You're not exhausted because you work too hard, you're exhausted because you never stop speaking. Not with your mouth, but with your mind. Every waking moment, 1,000 voices scream for your attention, and you've forgotten how to make them stop. The ancients knew something we've lost: silence is not the absence of noise. It's the presence of power. The path begins only for those who choose it. Subscribe to Discipline and Destiny now if you wish to walk in silence with us, and tell me below what truth you seek, or what chaos you wish to still. Every word you leave is a stone laid upon your own path. You wake up, and before your feet touch the floor, your mind is already at war with itself. The argument you had yesterday. The deadline approaching tomorrow. The person who wronged you. The future you're not ready for. You reach for your phone, not because you need to, but because the noise inside is unbearable, and you'd rather drown it out with someone else's chaos. You fill every silence with podcasts, music, scrolling, anything to avoid the one thing you fear most: being alone with your own thoughts. You tell yourself you're productive. You're connected. You're informed. But beneath it all, there's a tremor you can't name. A restlessness that no amount of distraction can cure. Most people, like Kenji, spend their entire lives running from silence. He worked 12-hour days, listened to audiobooks on his commute, watched videos until his eyes burned at night. He thought he was optimizing his time. But the truth was simpler, and far more tragic. He was afraid to hear what his own soul was trying to say. The modern world has made silence feel like failure. Like wasted time. Like loneliness. And so we fill every crack with noise, never realizing that we're suffocating the one thing that could save us. But over 1,000 years ago, in the mountains of Japan, Zen monks discovered something that would change the course of spiritual mastery forever. They didn't achieve enlightenment through more knowledge, more effort, or more striving. They achieved it through less. In the hidden monasteries of Kyoto, monks practiced a discipline so profound that emperors and samurai traveled for months just to witness it. It wasn't meditation as we know it today. It wasn't mindfulness apps or breathing exercises. It was something far more dangerous, far more transformative. They called it Ma, the sacred art of negative space. The discipline of deliberate silence. Based on teachings from the Shobogenzo and the practices of masters like Dogen Zenji, this wasn't about escaping the world. It was about becoming so still that the world revealed its secrets to you. His secret wasn't in silencing the external noise, it was in mastering the internal chaos first. And what he understood has been hidden in plain sight for centuries. Before you can enter silence, you must first hear the storm within. This is where most people fail. They sit down, close their eyes, and expect peace. Instead, they're assaulted by a flood of thoughts, regrets, anxieties, imaginary conversations, endless loops of worry. The Zen masters called this the monkey mind, wild, chaotic, jumping from branch to branch without rest. But here's what most people miss: this noise is not the enemy. It's the teacher. The first law of silence is this: you cannot quiet what you refuse to hear. In the monasteries, novices were told to sit with their chaos. Not to fight it. Not to suppress it. But to listen. To let every voice rise and fall like waves on the shore. One master described it this way: when you first sit, your mind becomes a marketplace at dawn. 1,000 merchants shouting. But if you remain still, one by one, they close their stalls and leave. Start here, sit for 5 minutes in total silence. No music. No guidance. Just you and the noise. Don't judge it. Don't try to stop it. Just listen. Because only when you hear the depth of your own inner chaos can you begin to untangle it. But this is only the first gate. After 5 days of silence, something strange happens. Your tongue aches. Your throat tightens. You dream of conversation, of laughter, of hearing your own name spoken aloud. This is the second gate, the addiction to your own voice that we speak not because we have something to say, but because we're terrified of what might happen if we don't. We fear that if we stop declaring our existence, we'll vanish. The monks understood this. They sealed their mouths with cloth for 40 days. Not as punishment, but as liberation. By the 10th day, they could hear their heartbeat like a drum. By the 20th, they could sense the direction of wind by the movement of dust. By the 40th, they no longer distinguished between their breath and the breath of the world. They had crossed into a place most humans never reach, the space where the self begins to dissolve. Here's the practice. For 1 full day each week, speak only when absolutely necessary. No small talk. No commentary. No filling the silence with noise. When someone asks you a question, pause for 3 breaths before answering. Feel the weight of your words before you release them. You'll notice something profound. Most of what you say is habit, not truth. And in that recognition, you'll begin to reclaim the energy you've been bleeding through endless, meaningless speech. But the real transformation happens in the 3rd chamber. Chapter 3, The Discipline of Stillness. Silence without stillness is just noise wearing a mask. You can stop speaking and still be at war. Your body twitches. Your mind wanders. Your breath quickens at the first whisper of discomfort. This is where the discipline deepens. The old texts tell of a master who sat unmoving for 7 winters. Snow buried his hut until travelers mistook it for a shrine. When the thaw came, his body was thin as reeds, but his eyes were bright as dawn. They asked him how he endured such immobility. He replied, "I did not endure stillness. Stillness endured me." True stillness is not frozen muscle. It's a mind so calm that even motion becomes gentle. The Zen tradition teaches this through zazen, seated meditation where the spine is straight, the hands are folded, and the gaze is soft. But the posture is not the point. The point is teaching the body that it no longer controls you. Every itch is a test. Every restless urge to shift your weight, to check the time, to stand and move, these are not physical needs. They're the ego panicking at its own irrelevance. A master once taught his student to hold a cup of water until it ceased to ripple. The boy waited for the wind to stop. But the master said, "The wind will never stop. You must practice this, sit for 10 minutes without moving. Not a finger. Not a toe. Feel every rebellion of your flesh and let it pass. The itch will fade. The discomfort will dissolve. And in its place, something vast will emerge." But even this is preparation for the deepest level. Chapter 4, The Mirror of the Voice. In the 4th chamber of practice lies a paradox. The more silent you become, the more clearly you hear yourself. Not your thoughts. Not your desires. But the voice beneath all voices, the one that has been whispering your entire life, drowned out by noise. There's a story of a novice named Easy who begged his master for permission to speak after weeks of silence. "I have seen visions in the dark," he said. "My silence burns." The master handed him a blackened mirror and said, "Speak here." Easy spoke to his reflection. He confessed his doubts, his hunger, his longing to be seen. And as he spoke, his breath fogged the glass. He tried to wipe it clear, but it returned with every word. Finally, exhausted, he whispered, "I cannot see myself." The master replied, "Then speak no more. The voice that hides your reflection is not your enemy. It is your shadow." From that day, Easy took a vow of silence. Years later, when he looked into the mirror again, the glass reflected not his face but the entire room, the lantern, the dust, the mountain wind. He had become transparent. And silence had taught him how to see. This is the practice. Once a week, spend 1 hour speaking only to yourself, aloud, into a mirror. Not journaling. Not thinking. Speaking. Say everything you've been afraid to say. Every fear. Every shame. Every buried truth. And then, when the words run dry, sit in silence and watch your reflection. You'll see something you've spent your whole life hiding from. But the final gate is the most dangerous. Chapter 5, The Storm and the Bell. Even the silent must face the storm. One night, Lightning struck a monastery. Flames climbed the cedar like serpents of gold. Wind tore through the prayer halls. The novices ran to save what they could. All except one, who remained seated as fire approached. When the master found him, smoke in his hair, ash on his robe, he asked, "Were you not afraid?" The monk replied, "The storm outside cannot hear my fear. Only the storm within can burn me." This is the final teaching: silence is not escape. It's alchemy. Anger, fear, desire, these will not vanish because you sit quietly. The world will still rage. People will still wound you. Loss will still come. But the truly silent do not hide from the fire. They transform it. In the temple of hollow wind, monks ring a bell during thunderstorms. Not to answer the sky, but to remind the heart that harmony can exist even in chaos. Every strike of the bell is deliberate, as if saying to the heavens, "We too can make thunder, but ours brings peace." When chaos comes, and it will, return to your silence. Not to hide, but to let the storm pass through you without taking root. Because a mind trained in stillness cannot be shaken by what it does not resist. When you walk this path, something shifts that cannot be measured but only felt. You'll notice it first in the small things. The way silence no longer feels like absence, but like presence. The way your words carry weight because you use so few of them. The way people lean closer when you speak, sensing that you've learned to mean what you say, that you'll find that the restlessness that once consumed you begins to fade. Not because your life becomes easier, but because you've stopped demanding that it be anything other than what it is. The noise of the world continues, but it no longer reaches the place where you live. You've built a cathedral of silence within yourself, and no storm can breach its walls. Kenji, the man who once drowned every moment in distraction, eventually found his way to this practice. It took him months. There were days he failed, days he gave up, days he hated the silence more than anything. But he continued. And one morning, after sitting in stillness for an hour, he opened his eyes and realized something extraordinary. For the first time in his life, he was not at war with himself. The transformation is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. But those around you will notice. Your presence will calm rooms. Your silence will speak louder than any argument. And you'll discover what the ancients knew all along: the quietest minds are the most powerful. You're not exhausted because you work too hard. You're exhausted because you've been speaking without ceasing, to the world, to yourself, to the void. If you're feeling the weight of that noise, this is your reminder: you don't need more productivity. You don't need more motivation. You need silence. Start tomorrow morning. 5 minutes. No phone. No sound. Just you and the chaos inside. Listen to it. Let it rise. And when it begins to fade, and it will, you'll hear something beneath it. Something vast. Something that's been waiting your entire life to be heard. The ancient masters left us one final teaching, written in the margins of forgotten scrolls: he who conquers silence conquers the self. And he who conquers the self needs conquer nothing else. The path is waiting. Your destiny calls. The question is, are you disciplined enough to answer?